Welcome to today's post, and today's post is inspired by Hugo Ortega over at the Uber Tablet blog, and we're vlogging using the little Nikon Coolpix L3 and doing a video blog. But today we're talking about ebooks, and we're going to demonstrate a couple of different devices. One of those is the Sony Reader, sometimes called the Sony, what is it called? It's the Portable Reader System. That's what it says here on the side. We're also going to be talking about the Samsung Q1, which is actually a tablet PC running Windows XP. It's also available with Windows Vista. And this is what's referred to as an ultra-mobile PC, a particular form factor that's quite small. So we're going to be talking about those as ebooks and kind of comparing them to a regular book. So I brought along Michael Chabon's The Yiddish Policeman's Union, just to use as a kind of a spatial reference here. But the first thing that we want to look at is the Sony Reader, the Portable Reader System. This came out in the last year or so, and you can see one book that I have displayed there is basically a monochrome screen. This is made by E-Ink, so it's not a backlit screen, and it's not a computer per se. It is designed to read ebooks. We have it here with a optional leather cover, just to make it look a little bit more bookish. And this works in conjunction with Sony's store. They have an online store, and primarily is used for reading their proprietary format, but you can also transfer PDF files and various other kinds of file formats to be read on this. I found that some of those other file formats require quite a lot of manipulation before you actually can get a good book to read on the screen. It doesn't look quite so good as the Sony proprietary format. So I'm going to scroll to a page or two here and kind of show you what the text looks like, and I hope you can see that on the video screen there. The text, you can vary between three sizes generally, ranging from totally invisible to the aged eyes like mine to something that's nearer to readable. This is the large size of text there. I'm not sure if you'll be able to read that. I can cycle through the small text, and in general I usually read on medium. I find that is more analogous to what you'd see in, say, a paperback. But I find this form very functional as far as the size is concerned. It's quite handy to use, and it's not actually running an operating system per se. I think it's some sort of embedded operating system, but normally you have a menu that will let you browse your collection in various ways. And you can hold probably 50 to 80 normal books on here. It will also play MP3 files, so you can load MP3s and you can view pictures, but again they're in a monochrome form, so it's all black and white. But I have on here about 32 books and about 12 MP3s and 7 or 8 photographs, and I don't believe we're beginning to even be full. One of the nice things about this device is that this particular screen from E-Ink, it's not backlit, so it doesn't fatigue the eyes very much to look at, but it also doesn't use a lot of energy from the battery. So if you're just reading books, a charge on this will last quite a long time. You can take it on a flight with 20 or so books and hardly ever run out of juice while you're using it. I would say in general the drawbacks to this device are the monochrome nature of the screen, the limited selection from the Sony ebook store. I think it's geared primarily towards the bestseller list and general reading audience. I think they could tap into some other audiences and probably sell this device maybe to college students as a textbook platform. I think if it had color, that would also enhance its use for textbooks and things like that. But I've enjoyed reading that. I've read 5 or 6 books on this already, and it's I think pretty functional. The other thing that I wanted to compare it to was the Samsung Q1, and we could be talking about other members of the ultra-mobile PC family. They're products made by a number of others companies, but I quite like the Samsung, and this is called the Q1. This particular model is the Q1P. It's running Windows XP, has a 60 gigabyte hard drive, and 1 gig of RAM. It's a pretty fast operating system, and I won't bore you with starting things up, but you can use the Microsoft Reader, for example, to read ebooks. You can read books that are in Adobe PDF format. So I'm going to start up Microsoft Reader. But what I'm actually going to do, you can see from here that the normal orientation is sort of a landscape mode. I'm going to rotate the screen so it's reading in more of a portrait mode, and I think that will be more analogous to what a book would be like. In fact, as we compare this device to a recent hardback book, you can see that it's actually slightly smaller than your average hardback, both in its dimensions this way and in its thickness. It's pretty close to what a hardback book would be like. So I'm going to start up the Sony Reader, but first I'm going to rotate the orientation of my screen. I find that the Sony Reader works a little bit better when you've done that. See if I can get rotated here quickly and start up Microsoft Reader and open up a book. And I usually like to expand to essentially be looking at the entire screen. This is in fact a book that I downloaded from the University of Virginia eText Center. They have a number of books in the Microsoft Reader ebook format, and this is Persuasion by Jane Austen, and I'm just going to go to a bookmark that I've already made to go to a particular page. And again, we start out with the small text here. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to let the camera dwell on that for a minute just to see if you can see what the text looks like. And then I'm going to expand the text a little bit. Go to my settings. That was on the smallest, and I'm going to go up to medium and return to my book and let you see that. And that's a little bit better. The thing that I like about the Microsoft Reader is this bar that will let you quickly page through an item, and that's something that's a little bit more difficult to do on the Sony Reader. You have kind of a page at a time, or you can jump to sort of an undesignated point. There's a key pad on the Sony Reader, I should point out, that sort of divides the book that you're reading into tenths so that you can jump from 1 through 10 through the point of the book. And we can do a similar kind of thing with the Microsoft Reader. And basically on the Samsung we have some toggles that we can then use to page through a book. I'm going to make sure that I'm actually paging here before there we go. So you can see I can just click my toggle button here and I page through one screen after another. And like the Sony, you can actually create files that are readable for the Microsoft Reader, and there's an add-in for Microsoft Word, in fact, that you can convert any Word document into a Microsoft Reader file. Again, that requires some work to format it so that it looks good on the computer screen, but not too much effort, and you can actually create your own ebooks from text files. So you could do that with things, for example, from Project Gutenberg. You could load in this format. I'm going to shut down the Microsoft Reader and go into the Adobe Reader to show you a file there as well. And see if I can quickly get to a file. Yep. And again, in this mode with an Adobe PDF file, you don't have as much control over the font size, for example, as in some of these other modes of operation. But if you formatted the file well, it should operate pretty well, and that actually looks pretty analogous to what you would see in a book page, for example. See if I got my brightness up well enough. See if you can see the difference between those. This, I think, is about, the text block is not as big as a hardback book, but would be about like a paperback book. So the weight is very near to what a hardback book would be. Actually, this is a little bit heavier than a hardback book. It's about 1.5 pounds. But your text block that you're looking at it here is generally about like a paperback book. And I think that's true of the Sony Reader as well. It's about the size of a paperback. This, of course, is a smaller, lighter, thinner, more portable kind of device. This, I think, is a more powerful device and it's a more flexible device. So if you wanted to do some other things besides simply reading ebooks or listening to MP3 files, I would suggest going with one of the UMPC kinds of devices. But if you really want a light, portable ebook reader that's sort of an exclusive platform for ebooks, I think the Sony Reader is a really great way to go. More about these in a later post perhaps, but I hope that introduced you a little bit to some of the possibilities for ebooks these days. There are lots of other products out there on the market, but these are two that I happen to own and have enjoyed using. Thanks. Goodbye.